He's mixing with flair. Every sip's a moment. We're happy to share liquid lunch. Pour it smooth, let it flow. Friends round the table where the good times grow. Raise a glass, let the worries slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for a day. The clock don't matter, we're lost in the vibe. Jazz in the air, feel the soul come alive. From martinis to bourbon, we're riding the wave. Stealing this hour, it's the freedom we crave. Sun's still shining, but we're in our zone. This bar's our shelter, our temporary home. One more round before the world calls us back. Savor the moment, keep the blues in the rack. We'll laugh and we'll toast till the afternoon fades. Memories made in these liquid escapades. Liquid lunch, pour it smooth, let it flow. Friends round the table where the good times grow. Raise a glass, let the worries slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for the day. So here's to the daylight, the drinks and the fun. Our liquid lunch, till the next one comes. With a wink and a smile, we'll be back real soon. Chasing that jazz under the high noon.
Va salute. Welcome, welcome. Good to see all of you. All of you trickling in here. Really appreciate it. Look forward to Liquid Lunch every morning now, and this one's going to be a special one. It's going to give you a little bit of a peek behind the curtain on the history of where some of the tropes of this channel came from, inspired by a wonderful Chicago radio station that still rolls out the Canarble Wagon every Friday, and it's a tradition I want to keep alive. What we can't keep alive is the person who introduced the concept of the Canarble Wagon to the Chicagoland area, and that was Jim Johnson. We'll talk about him in a little bit. But first, let me say hi to all of you, starting with my beautiful wife, Netter of Netter's Network. I love you too, my dear. I just brought her drink just before the stream. Sci-Fi Mommy, haven't seen you in a while. Welcome, welcome. Always good to see you. Storyman Jack. Howdy, ladies and gents. Hope everyone is great. Yes, I am great. I hope everyone else is as well. Storyman Jack has a great channel where he tells great stories, and he has a blue wrench so he can share that channel with you. Hint. Go ahead, share your link there, Storyman Jack. Mechpo will be listening in, have to leave early for the dilithium mines due to more Vechpu arriving. Yes. Yes, I'm sorry to hear that, Mark. I know you've had your challenges there, but that is the way of it. But that is also why we do the Liquid Lunch, to take a little break and kind of center ourselves a little bit. There's the Zen concept of meditation to find your center. I prefer mine in liquid form. Mm-hmm. Happy Friday. Mm-hmm. So let's start out by talking a little bit about the channel. So the idea of Last Call is probably, pretty straightforward to certainly all the regulars, but the term Last Call is because it's a later night show than most evening shows, and it's hard when your potential audience is literally across the world, right? I could have if I start my show at 9 Central, that's 10 Eastern, but that's 9 8. It's like 7 or 6 on the East Coast or on the West Coast, and it's the next day on the other side of the Pacific. It's early in the morning, so I call it last call with the idea of closing down a bar with a group of friends, right? At 2 in the morning, the bars close. They kick you out. They usually say something like, "You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here." And you either go back to somebody's place, or you go home, or you hang out in the parking lot till the wee hours of the morning when the sun starts to come up. But that was the idea, and it was predicated on the idea that when Netter and I were working together just before the coof hit, we would get together with our coworkers right after work on Friday. So that ranged in time from 4:30 to 6 o'clock was when people were getting off. Whoever got off first would go, I'll go get a table at City Works across the expressway, and we'd order some finger foods and be ready when people start showing up and start drinking. And as people came in later and later, it'd be like, well, I'm already 2 drinks in, you got to get caught up. And we'd sit around and we'd talk about the week we had, and complain about customers, complain about bosses, sometimes bosses that were there with us drinking and going, yeah, that guy's a jerk, because it was all in good fun. And we loved it. We no matter how bad the week got, we could decompress, let it go, and go into the weekend enjoying ourselves. And Netter and I really missed that more than the job itself when things went off the rails, during that period. So we just decided, we'll keep it alive on YouTube, and we'll get together with our friends, literally across the country and around the world. Which, by the way, that's all you guys. Real quick, let's see what you guys are saying here. You said, pushing back with the bureaucracy may get me assigned to a listening post on Morska. Well, good luck to you on that one. Let me know how it goes. Connie Cleary, welcome, the Bird Woman of YouTube. Definitely check out her channel, as well as the her sister channel, Fluff Chick Productions. So anyway, but I always, as I was leaving the office, it was usually about 4:30. Well, I think I got off at 4:30. Netter got off a little bit later. So by the time we got to the car, it was 5 o'clock. And the Roe Conn show on WGN radio was starting. And that was the station we'd listen to at our previous job when we would be driving back home from either the far north suburbs or the city, depending on where we were working at the time. And that homebound commute, starting at 5 o'clock, would be the on that show. It was the Canarble Wagon rollout. And that was a great memory. So WGN, at the time, I don't know if it still is, but at the time, it was very much a conservative talk show channel. It carried things like Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and stuff like that. What's his name? Michael Medved used to have a show there too, but he might be better known to people for his movie reviews. Now, I was never historically someone who cared about the mainstream media reviews on things. Netter got off at 3:30. I got off at 4. Yeah, see, the different jobs kind of blend together in my head. That's yeah. But Michael Medved was one of the very few. In fact, I think he's the only one who I would listen to his reviews. And if he said a movie was good, I would probably like it. And if he didn't like it, I probably would not like it. And this was tested by, there was one movie he didn't like, and I really wanted to see. I can't remember now what it was. I'm like, he's bound to be wrong once. He was not wrong. I saw the movie, I did not like it, and I'm like, if I had listened to Michael Medved, I would have saved my money. But now we have a whole host of film reviewers to choose from. Big Al Presents for one, and to some degree, Culture Casino, the guys over at Midnight's Edge, definitely Criticless. Definitely check out Criticless. Criticless is where you should go instead of going to Rotten Tomatoes and all of those websites. Criticless is a true democratization of movie reviews. And so I know who I can trust now that I couldn't in the past. But anyway, so the Friday homeward commute was the Canarble Wagon on the Roe Conn show. And at the time, it was Roe Conn hosting. It was Jim Johnson doing weather and some filling in reporting, and was it Roz Varon? Yeah, Roz Varon on traffic and also on news reporting. And it was the three of them in the studio, and it was obviously virtual for the people in the car because you're only listening. Like today would be like a podcast or whatever. But later on, they started to get, they started streaming their show on the internet. So they had in-studio cameras, so you could actually see the Canarble Wagon, and we'll explain the Canarble Wagon in a minute, this bar cart that they would roll out and have drinks, was 100% real. It was really happening. It wasn't just theater of the mind. It was actually happening in the studio. And they would usually have a guest bartender. So from the different pubs around town, they had someone from the House of Blues there once, and I can't remember all the other ones. They even had one that's right around the corner from me here in Streamwood. I forget the name of the place. I don't even know if they're still open anymore. But they'd come in and bring their own booze and offer up their signature cocktails, kind of to drum up word of mouth and some publicity for their own pub, so that people would come in. So yeah, that's where the Canarble Wagon came from. And when I wasn't there anymore, I said, I'm just going to start my own Canarble Wagon, and that's what Friday night is. And to some degree, the Liquid Lunch as well. But so I was getting ready for this. I said over a week ago, I said Fridays now are going to be my drink mix Friday afternoon. That bar did close. Okay. They had horrible service and closed a few months after the one time we went. Yeah. So, the day that they had that bloke from this pub, this local pub by us, in the studio, I said, now we have to go there. We have to go there, tell them we heard about them on the Roe Conn show. We got there, and I'm not even going to get into it. The service really was terrible. You go into a bar. Look, I understand. You're not really going in for food. You're going in for drink, right? But they still have food. They still serve food, and you expect a certain level of attention to be paid to your order. every place I've ever gone, I've always gotten like the bar pizza, maybe some onion rings, whatever. You got to have a booze sponge, you know. It also helps pace you. It took over an hour for them to make a pizza. And there was no one in there. I'm like, the hell, you know? And yeah, when I say that, yeah. I mean, I guess I'm used to, you know, the near north side of Chicago, where, you know, even when it's slow, it's kind of hopping. Yeah, there was like 3 people sitting at the bar. You know, that's about it. And I get that, but it also means it's like, even if you only have one person on duty, you could probably be doing better than you're doing. Anyway, the point is they closed up. So, you know, what goes around comes around. You reap what you sow, right? So, anyway, I'm getting ready for this show, and I said I would be doing a Brown Mumber stream. The members have the membership emojis for chatting, and one of those emojis is a Brown Mumbler. And I said, okay, Friday I'm having a Brown Mumbler, and Friday afternoon I'm going to tell you about the Brown Mumbler and how to make it, kind of the history and all that. Well, as I was doing my research, I found out that Jim Johnson passed away 2 months ago. I had no idea. Now, he had been retired for almost a decade now. That time went really, really fast. But yeah, he was a character. He when he was at his best, he would trip over his words, and he was not one to rehearse his copy. He would just read it and flub it, and he was very how would you say it? Very off the cuff, very laid back. You could relate to him, you know, not in a doddering kind of way, but in a, yeah, I would do the same thing if I was in his place, you know, and he was completely unapologetic about it. One of his Jimisms, they called him, was he was reading off the news about some murder that happened in the city, and a guy had shot 3 people. How did he put it? He said he shot them fatally to death. And it was like, fatally to death, really? As opposed to fatally to something other than death? He's like, okay, whatever, you know. Anyway, a lot of spoonerisms and whatnot, but the kind that you go, I see why he did that. Yeah, that happens. They were never intentional, but sometimes very, very funny. So it is a little ironic that he ended up suffering with Alzheimer's later in life, which is part of why he then ended up retiring. He moved back to northern Wisconsin, which I guess is where he was from. Well, he was born in Chicago, but he lived in Wisconsin for a lot of years. And like I say, he was literally 50 years, 50, in broadcasting. 45 of those was at WGN. So that's an incredible career. But real quick, I got a clip here, a clip that's probably going to get this stream demonetized, but I don't care. I'm doing this for Jim Johnson. I'm going to play this little clip for you from I think it was a 2016 kind of a reunion show on the Roe Conn show.
All right. Now, the Canarble Wagon, which has been a fixture on Chicago afternoon radio, Friday afternoon radio, for exactly 20 years. It started almost exactly 20 years ago. And people always ask now, what is that word, Canarble? There's people, even in when we were there at the other station for all that time, people didn't know how to pronounce it. Here, it's a complete mystery. It's Canarble, Canarble, mm-hmm. and where that came from, that word specifically, the drink cart idea was yours and mine, right. But the idea, the word Canarble comes from Chicago political lore, right?
Correct. Over at the City Hall press room, there were reporters, particularly the print reporters, the people that did radio and TV couldn't exactly do this, would go out and have about a 5-martini lunch. And they'd come stumbling back in. And one day, we were all sitting there pretending to do news. Most of the time, I slept on the couch over there myself.
It's such a different business. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And one day, a reporter walked back in. We asked him where he'd been. He said, I had a couple of, he was trying to say cocktails. Mm-hmm. And it came out, I had a couple of those Canarbles. And that's when he hit the City Hall press room couch, and fell asleep. So that's where it came from.
That's awesome. And from that point forward, everybody in the City Hall press room, whether it was you or Harry Golden or all the famous people Michael Sneed back in the day was there, right? I think Lynn Sweet was still back there, and Fran Spielman. It just
Abraham Lincoln would drop in.
I bet.
I wonder if he ever won.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So where were the cocktails served? Were they just sort of served in the newsroom? Would they go
back
across
at the
show?
show?
Yeah.
No, back at the City Hall news.
Back in the day when you guys would have 5 cocktails or something.
No, they'd go out to a 3-martini lunch.
Like Counselor's Row.
So it would never be the news director, because I've heard stories too about news directors offering up, 5 o'clock. They'd open up something under their desk and just sort of serve cocktails that way too.
Oh, in the
business
station.
Yeah, in the TV station.
Oh, okay.
Or
have you been here on Fridays at 5 o'clock? Have you seen what happened?
That's a special tradition unique to your show. But I think this was a tradition back then, that it was okay during the day to just sort of have cocktails.
I suppose so.
I mean, absolutely. And Roe never actually finished. He was starting to say something, and they sidetracked him. He started to say, from that day on, all of these radio and TV personalities picked up that word Canarble. And at the end of the day on Friday, they would say, well, time to roll out the Canarble Wagon, meaning the bar cart, in direct response to this individual and his drunken slurring of cocktail. Yeah, not even close. But that's how it came out. So that's where the Canarble Wagon came from. Now, from what I understand, the Roe Conn show is still playing on WGN. He still rolls out the Canarble Wagon, even though he's got a whole different group of people. But I may be wrong about that. I haven't done a reality check on that, so I'll have to look into it and see. So whenever Jim Johnson, and they would go around and they would say what their drink was. Usually, if it was a guest bartender, he'd take their drink orders, and Roe was usually the one who'd be like, well, what are you serving today? What's your specialty? Maybe I'll have that. And then that would give the bartender a chance to talk about whatever his drink was or what his specialty was. If he had one prepared, sometimes he didn't. But Jim Johnson, if there was nothing else they could talk him into, he was going to have a Brown Mumbler. And I'm going to read real quick from a, do I still have it up? I hope I still have it up. This is from the Chicago Tribune. Yes, my face gets all bright because leaves dark mode when I go over to the Chicago Tribune. So this one is from 2018. The title is Friday at 5, a cocktail to kick off the weekend. Today's cocktail is the Brown Mumber, one of the debut drinks mixed by the gentleman behind the traveling Hornswogler Art Bar. Not unlike the Wisconsin Old Fashioned, featured back in September, the Brown Mumbler allegedly originated in northern Wisconsin, whose natives must like their drinks sweet. Hornswogler's version took the sweetness to the next level with the addition of Werther's Original Caramels. A tribute to the fact that the name conjured a mumbling old man who might enjoy the candies. I find that very interesting because this is the only mention that I've heard of adding Werther's to it. Anyway, essentially a Manhattan made with brandy or sweet whiskey instead of rye or bourbon. The Mumbler Hasn't caught on so much in Chicago bars, though we did find one on the menu at Champagne's Boltini Lounge. Boltini manager Rob Tobias said he added it back in 2003 after a regular suggested it. Interestingly, I was the odd man out at a pub on the north side of the city called, Netter. What was the name of that karaoke bar we used to go to on the north side? I can't remember. But they had no idea what it was. And so they looked it up on the interwebs and they found this article and they were like, okay, so now we know. So I don't know if they added it to their drink menu or not. But I didn't look it up, Tobias said, which is why it turned out more like a classic Manhattan. Booker's 127 proof bourbon, via sweet vermouth, a dash of bitters, and a brandied cherry. In Tobias's mind, the name speaks to his drink's strength. Yeah, I lean a little bit more towards this style myself. You drink one, you're fine, he says. You drink two, you're mumbling. We limit people to two of them. The true Wisconsin Brown Mumbler is a bit less refined. Below is one recipe suggestion. This is very close to the one that I generally have myself. 3 ounces Canadian Club whiskey or Christian Brothers brandy, 1 ounce sweet vermouth, a dash of 7-Up soda, and 1 to 2 brandied cherries. In a rocks glass with ice, muddled cherries, fill the whiskey and vermouth, add 7-Up, and stir gently. So that is the Brown Mumbler. And I know I've talked about the Brown Mumbler before. I'm pretty sure I've had streams where I posted the recipe in the description and so forth. Today's drink, however, I'm doing it slightly differently. Instead, in honor of the Chicago backstory that I just shared with you and my personal history, I am going with Clark and Sheffield bourbon. Normally I wouldn't. Normally I would go with that Christian Brothers, but just for today, I have not really found a dark vermouth that I really like besides this Coqui Vermouth di Torino. That's what I go with. It is a dark vermouth essentially. It's got a sweetness to it, and although I normally make my own brandied cherries, I picked up these griotines on an impulse buy. They're fine. They're good, but it's not necessary to buy them. You just take whatever kind of cherries you want. Stay away from maraschino cherries. They're not really in maraschino, and they're basically in corn syrup, and they taste waxy, and just don't. Never. Nothing. Never. This is why people don't like fruitcake, because they use that kind of fake yuck, and that's not, no. Use real fruit. Get yourself some, you can go with tart cherries if that's what you like. I would recommend dark sweet cherries, pitted, obviously. And then you just soak them in whatever brandy you prefer. Now, they will be, as long as you keep them in a sealed container, they'll be shelf stable forever. But for the purpose of having them in a drink, you might want to keep them in the fridge, or better still, in the freezer. Those cherries will get kind of solid, but if you're using a good brandy, that should not freeze. Also, it must be a glass container. Do not use plastic, especially when alcohol's involved. Those chemical flavors tend to leach out of the plastic and will ruin the flavor of anything you're storing in them. I don't even want to know what they do to your health. I've heard things. I don't know if that's true or not. Yeah. So yeah, make your own. I don't generally muddle them. probably should. It would probably give it a better flavor. I tend to treat them like olives in a martini. But the recipe does call for them to be muddled, and that kind of makes sense when you think through the flavor palette of the drink. And yes, by the time you've had two, you are mumbling. Actually, I'm pretty looped by the end of one, and definitely mumbling by the end of two. So should be an interesting stream tonight. Mine's a little on the weak side now because it's still the middle of the day. I gotta pace myself, right? But let's see, Canarble Wagon. And by the way, Canarble Wagon will be making an appearance at some point this year, and it'll become a regular feature on the stream. I'm still working on my studio, but eventually the Canarble Wagon will make an appearance on the stream. And again, I chalk it all up to Jim Johnson and to Roe Conn for starting this what I consider to be a Chicago tradition of booze and good times, which is exactly what I wanted to brand myself with, booze and good times. As far as the hat goes, I've gotten a lot of Blues Brothers references, which of course, is very on brand for the Chicago thing. But again, my original fedora hat was my grandfather's, and that's why I wear it. My grandfather kind of instilled in me the when you leave the house, you class it up a bit. So I always wear a hat. I've got a more Western style brown fedora that I wear when I'm being casual, going out, always get compliments on it. It's almost got that Indiana Jones look to it. This one actually comes from the UK. Netter got it for me to replace Grandpa's because I was wearing it all the time, and it was like, you know what? I think we got to retire this to protect it and, beat this one up a little bit. Okay, Nate, I won't tell anybody. I won't rat you out, but I do thank you for being here and listening, and for the $2 super chat that will absolutely make up for this stream probably getting demonetized for sharing, that little snippet that I shared with you. That's just the way it goes. And see, he knows. He dropped the fedora and the Brown Mumbler. I super appreciate that. Let's see. Yes, I will be drinking a Brown Mumbler tonight, and Boomer and I will be talking about must-see TV. And I'm going back to the 70s. He's probably going to focus more on the 80s and 90s. I'm going to have to rely on you folks in the chat to tell me about what's been going on since about 2000 or so, because I haven't known a great deal of must-see TV after the turn of the millennium. We actually, Netter and I, completely got rid of cable. We don't watch terrestrial TV anymore. It's all what we can stream, and it's either movies or YouTube for the most part. And by YouTube, I mean that in the generic sense, like photocopies or Xeroxes, that kind of thing, because we watch a lot of stuff from people that stream exclusively on Rumble. We watch stuff from people that are primarily on locals, and I really like the business model for Viva Fry. He has his whole show on locals, and if you're a locals member, you can see the whole show uninterrupted. But he starts out by simulcasting to Rumble and YouTube, and after an hour he cuts it off on YouTube, so you can jump over to Rumble and see the second hour, and then he cuts off Rumble, and if you're a member on locals, you can see the last wrap up, whether a half hour to an hour. Now, he does eventually release the whole stream on YouTube and Rumble, but, most people that are watching live, they just want it now. So that's how he generally does it. I am a locals member, but I never seem to be able to tune into them live to take advantage of that particular feature because, Sundays is when the big show is happening, and it usually overlaps with Geeky Geezers. So I just put it in my watch later, and I watch it, the following day while I'm working. And the same with almost every day, unless he's got court, his co-host Robert Barnes will do Bourbon with Barnes. See, I very much relate to that. I like that, although he never actually drinks bourbon on stream. But anyway, he'll talk about bourbon and what he's drinking and so forth. And he'll do about an hour-long show, and I think that one is exclusive to locals. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm almost certain. So yeah, that's what I've been watching lately. Just sharing that now because I don't think I'm gonna want to. I probably won't be getting into that tonight. But yeah, I mean this is going to be probably a short one today. I think I pretty much said everything I wanted to say on this particular topic. Would like to know what you guys are thinking of the show, what you guys think about the current state of entertainment, television. Do you guys listen to any talk radio, or is it all, blogs and stuff like this? And that's fine if it is, because like I said, I am trying to keep alive that talk show, radio show type of feel with my and old time in its regard too. I think that the Canarble Wagon on the Roe Conn show was an outlier. It was something kind of a throwback in a way. If you ever watch the Dick Van Dyke Show, he worked in a production studio, and it was that kind of a feel there too, and you definitely got the impression, even if you didn't see them, they were probably quaffing a drink here and there, behind the scenes or in between scenes. And in reality, they probably were in between takes. In fact, from things that Mary Tyler Moore and Dick Van Dyke have said, they absolutely were. So a salute to that, right? It was a different time. The other story I wanted to share was that there was a gentleman, and all these years later, I've forgotten his name. When Netta and I first got married, so this had to be the early 90s, I was working downtown at an insurance company. I worked in their file room, and that overlapped with the mail room and so forth. Actually, I was the assistant manager there. And oversaw all of their office support production and so forth. And so I would, I was the type of manager that my people would never do anything that I wasn't prepared to do myself. And there were times that I would do the morning mail delivery, which the first couple times I did it shocked the heck out of the managing partner and a lot of the insurance adjusters. They'd be like, wait, you're the man. And I'm there in a shirt and tie and everything. And they're like, are you short staffed today? And sometimes I was, but sometimes it's like, nope, just felt like getting out and saying hi to everybody. And I mean, I think you guys know me. That's just basically how I am. But as it turned out, it very much endeared them to me, or me to them. I don't know. But the managing partner was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. I'm like, whatever. And so I'd get to talking to them. And that was the best. I'm the manager. I can take as long as I want on the mail run. I don't have to, be Johnny on the spot, So I would stop and talk with them. And there was this one, he was the longest in that department. It was the insurance adjusters. And I was talking to him about because the interesting thing about this particular office was it had these columns. They were support columns, the kind you find in high-rise buildings downtown. But in these columns, coming out of them, were these pneumatic tubes. You may have seen them if you're old enough to remember. The banks used to have them. Or maybe some of them still do. You'd put your deposit or whatever into this canister. You'd put it in the machine. It would shoot off, and it would go under the ground and up to, the other to the window, right? Well, they used to have these in office buildings downtown all the time. And it was for mail delivery, and it was usually for like emergency mail, They weren't using them anymore. And I asked him, I'm like, were you here when they were using those? He goes, yeah. And it was somebody's job. It was right next to it. They'd hear it go, ba-boom, and they'd know, oh, something's come and open it and bring over it was usually a claim or something like that. He goes, but, nowadays with faxes and stuff, you get the fax, sooner than it could even be sent by mail. So there was no reason to, and couriers and all that kind of stuff. But he would talk about what it was like, and he was like, oh yeah. He goes, we used to take 3-hour lunches back then. And you'd go with your department and the head of the department. And the idea was, if the boss ordered an adult beverage, then you did too. Even if you weren't drinking it, you ordered it because he wasn't drinking alone, right? But most of us tried to keep up with him. He said, and we'd be like 3-4 cocktails in. We'd come back after 3 hours and we were staggering. He goes, but we continued to work the rest of the day. He says, I don't know how good the quality of work was, but we did it. And he described, from the way he described it, it was like he was describing Mad Men before Mad Men was a TV show, And he says that was just the way the industry was at the time. Drinking on the job or drinking, at lunch and coming back schnockered. It was just the way it was. He says, and smoking, there were no smoking breaks. You smoked at your desk. The room was full of smoke, So those kinds of stories, I kind of love that. And though I am not a smoker except an occasional pipe, certainly not anything like an addiction or anything like that, I do love the ambiance of the idea. I did grow up in the 70s, and I do remember when there was indoor smoking. Not only indoor, but it was like that section was smoking and this section was non-smoking. But you better believe the non-smoking section could still smell the smoke from the smoking section. I don't even remember. It was not that long ago. Maybe it was about 20 years ago, but still. Netta and I went to a restaurant, and she said, how many? And I said, 2 for non-smoking. And there was just this pause where she looked at me like, what? I'm like, I'm sorry, just 2, wherever, because by this time they'd outlawed smoking indoors in businesses to within 15 feet of the door, years and years earlier. And this was probably her first job at a place like this where someone actually had said that to her. Real quick, I want to say hi to Agent Boomer, who I'll be hanging out with this afternoon and talking about those must-see TV moments. Liquid lunch is the best lunch. It absolutely is. I don't care if it's a Brown Mumbler or a martini or, I don't know, some of you healthy people, protein shake or something like that. Welcome, Lynn Green. Hope you're doing well. Hi, all. Ironically, my day off, and I almost missed the stream. I had a lawn to mow. Yeah. And yesterday you'd taken a holiday. That was the only way you said you'd be able to make it. Yeah, you could always go back and rewind and listen again. There's no reason that you couldn't. Super appreciate you being here, though. So, yeah, I'm going to start winding this down. Got got a lot to do today, including I will this time for sure be appearing on Brandon the Anime Guy's channel. Believe that's 7 o'clock Central, so 8 o'clock Eastern. Should not conflict with last call. But I will be over there talking anime with him. I blew it on Wednesday. I was supposed to be there with him, and I screwed that up because I'm a chucklehead, and went for the link to go on his channel and clicked on the wrong message in my DMs and ended up on Joe's Atmosphere. And that was a great time, and I hope you go check out Wednesday's show over on Joe's Atmosphere. We talked about the Superman trailer, and honestly, I don't remember what all we talked about, but I did mention that yesterday on the stream here, talking about that Superman trailer. But yeah, so tonight I hope you join us over on Brandon the Anime Guy's channel. Say hi and tell him I sent you so that he knows that I'm a worthwhile guest to have on. And then 9 Central, 10 Eastern, I'll be on with Aged Boomer talking about must-see TV. For the younger among you, you might not even know what that is, but we will explain. And let's see. Tomorrow night over on Big Al Presents Films with Friends, we'll be watching The Fantastic Voyage with Raquel Welch. And then Sunday, I'm still going through the notes for Geeky Geezers. I'm trying to keep it from being all about In Remembrances because we've got a long list. We might have to chisel that down slightly. And that's, of course, at 8 Central, 9 Eastern on Aged Boomer's channel. And hope you guys are following me and you have that notification bell going, because then you will see every time I go live, every stream, every video that I post. And yeah, let everybody else know what you're doing in the afternoon. Well, I mean, unless you're trying to hide the fact that you're having a liquid lunch, but I would really appreciate you inviting your friends to come and hang out with us every afternoon at noon, 1 Eastern. And that's all I got. Hopefully those of you that came in late, feel free now to rewind and listen again from the beginning. Leave a comment in the chat below, or you've been chatting all this time. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought of the show. And by all means, feel free to give me suggestions and recommendations on what other topics you'd like me to talk about besides, the Boozy Fridays. But guys, I thank you so much for hanging out with me today and sharing your lunchtime with me. I hope you have a wonderful one. You take care, and I will see you on the next one. Salud.
Goodbye. Hope to see you again real soon.
So here's to the daylight, the drinks and the fun, our liquid lunch, till the next one comes. With a wink and a smile, we'll be back real soon, chasing that jazz under the high